Regional repertories. We all know that repertory is an index to materia medica. In a general repertory, the symptoms have been arranged chapter wise. Usually, the chapters are mined to generalities. In case of regional repertories, each chapter can be made as a separate repertory. For example, repertory of mind, repertory of eye, repertory of headaches, repertory on some disease conditions like repertory of diarrhea by James W. Bell, repertory of rheumatism, repertory of fever, and repertory of hemorrhoids, etc. So, containing a part of a body, or it contains mind symptoms only, or it contains miasm, then we call it as a regional repertory. The regional repertories of mind and miasms are Analytical Repertory by Constantine Hering and Repertory of Antipsoric Medicines by Bonnie Hassan. I've given some more examples for all the regional repertories. Repertory on Complex Miasmatic, Cancer and its Cure by Benedict Castro, and repertory on particular organs like Uterine Therapeutics by Henry Minton, Urinary System by Morgan, and Leaders in Respiratory Organs by E.B. Nash. These are some examples for repertories made on particular part of the body. And we have disease specified repertories also. Commonly, the regional repertories, they usually contains a limited number of remedies, and they have two parts. One is therapeutic part, the other one is repertory part. In the therapeutic part, what are the remedies have been used in the repertory? Their materia medica symptomatic pictures will be discussed on the basis of theme of the repertory. For example, if we see the repertory of diarrhea by James Bell, all the remedies have been explained by their GIT complaints. The nature of stool, conditions before, during and after stool has been explained in repertory of diarrhea. In the same way, today we are going to see pneumonias by Borland. So we often have a question in the exams like regional repertories with an example. So in order to cut short the time, we can choose Pneumonias by Borland. It is a very small book, the cost of 35 to 40 rupees, but it contains numerous information and also it has very clear construction. Dr. Borland was a practical homeopath and he has given many guidelines to the students and practitioners. His other books were Children Types, Homeopathic Treatment of Influenzas, Some Emergencies of General Practices, and Homeopathy in Theory and Practice. When we see the construction of pneumonias, it has four parts: introduction, therapeutic part, and repertory part, and word index. So the therapeutic part, it contains 24 drugs. In the repertory part, there is 21 chapters. It starts from generalities and ends with sleep chapter. And we have a word index given in alphabetical order. In every repertory, while classifying the construction of the repertory, we have to write major and minor construction. Major construction includes the introduction to index part, and minor construction, it is mostly about therapeutics and repertory part. In case of general repertory, we may not have therapeutic part. In such case, we have to write about the chapter arrangements and arrangements of the rubrics in minor construction. The first part, introduction. The most challenging task for young practitioners are handling acute and infectious cases and also potency selection in acute cases, their repetition and their outcome. In the introduction part, Dr. Borland has explained very well about all these concepts in detail and he has experimented them in all his cases. It is one of the most authentic literature to write about management of acute diseases and its guidelines. This area can be used in homeopathic management. While writing about homeopathic management in practice of medicine and even in materia medica, we can use this introduction part. Being impressed by the Kentian method, Dr. Borland insisted about mind symptoms and selection of similimum on the basis of mind symptoms. But when we treat acute diseases, there are two scenarios. Based on the condition and based on the presentation of the disease, the prescription can be based on the general similarity or it could be a accurate similimum. Even though this book is based on pneumonias, this potency selection and his principles can be used for all the infectious disease. Dr. Borland is explaining two scenarios while treating an acute case. So in one scenario we have high potency, in other one we have low potency. He is explaining the merits and demerits of choosing high and low potencies. What is a high potency? Any potency above 30 is called high potency. When we choose high potency, the prescription must be very accurate and the remedy must be proved thoroughly. When we prescribe a high potency, in case of pneumonia, it usually shortens the disease course. For example, if a disease runs for 7 to 14 days, when we prescribe a high potency, the disease course will be reduced to 7 days. In every infectious disease, there is a possibility of crisis development. For example, in typhoid, in the third stage of typhoid, there is chances of developing hemorrhage. So in case of pneumonia, the crisis is usually anticipated on 7th to 10th day, but when we prescribe a high potency, the crisis will happen in 12 to 48 hours. What is the merit of it? If the crisis happens after 7th to 10th day, the patient will be debilitated. He would have lost enormous vital fluid in the disease process. But when we prescribe a high potency, when the crisis happens in 12 to 48 hours, the patient will have the vitality to overcome the crisis. So it is very beneficial to them. And we can repeat the remedy based on the temperature. If the temperature started falling, we have to reduce the repetition. If the temperature remains long, then we have to repeat every 2 hours and then 6 hours and then 12 or 24 hours. So how can we term that the temperature is normal? If the temperature remains normal for 6 hours, then we can conclude that the medicine is correct and the patient is going towards positive side. So in case of high potency selection, it shortens the disease course and it promotes early resolution in cases of pneumonia. But we have to be very cautious that the prescription is very accurate, the similimum is obtained properly, and we have all the potencies of the drug with us, and also the drugs are thoroughly proved. When we prescribe high potency, we don't have to change the prescription very often because we have found the similimum, and this similimum will take care of the entire course of the disease. We need not to change the prescription very often in cases of high potency. Whereas in cases of low potency, it is play for safe option because after giving a particular potency, any potency below 30 potency is called a low potency. After giving a remedy, there will be another set of symptoms which will surface in the patient. So at that time we have to take the case once again and we have to match the remedy. And in low potency, we may need more than 2 or 3 remedies based on the symptom picture of the patient. When it comes about crisis, it usually occurs as per normal course of the disease. It cannot be preponed or postponed with the low potency prescription. So in low potency, the symptom picture will be keep on changing because we are prescribing on the superficial basis. Whatever symptoms surface, we are matching them with the materia medica and we will be prescribing a remedy in lower potency. So in case of administering lower potency, we have to monitor the temperature and the drug should be administered very frequently, usually once in 4 hours. Prescribing low potency is a moderate task compared to high potency because high potency requires a very accurate prescription whereas low potency a general similarity is enough. The general similarity means we can consider as a PQRS symptom. If we have 3 or 4 peculiar symptoms, then we can prescribe low potency drugs. So in low potency, they are not completely proved. For example, we have some organ-specific remedies like Justicia and Blata orientalis. It is given in mother tincture form or maximum in 30 potency. They cannot be given in higher potencies. So most of the drugs which we are using in mother tincture form or in low potency, they are not completely proven. The second part of the repertoire is therapeutics. The 24 drugs have been classified into 5 groups. These groups are made up of on the basis of the symptom picture during each stages of pneumonia. Group 1, it is of incipient stage. Aconite, belladonna, ferrampas and ipecac has been explained in this group 1. So in the therapeutic part, Dr. Borland has explained the duration of prescribing medicine, their symptom picture, ailments from and PQRS symptoms, and also the complementary follow-well remedies. Group 2 drugs are given for frankly developed pneumonia, where all the symptoms of pneumonia are present. Bryonia, phosphorus, veratrum and chelidonium are the remedies. When patient developed pneumonia, at that time we have to go for higher potencies if it is very similar. As a practitioner of Kentian method, Dr. Borland always insists higher potencies. Group 3 comprises of complicated pneumonia. The remedies are Baptisia, Pyrogen, Merxal, Heparself and Restox. So what is the term complicated pneumonia? Along with the pneumococcal infection, if a patient is infected with influenza virus also, then we call as a complicated pneumonia. In these cases, a single remedy will not be beneficial. And when we prescribe medicine in a very low potency, the patient may not respond well, and we cannot go for the highest potency also. So the best potency for complicated pneumonia is 1M potency. And group 4 is creeping type of pneumonia. The remedies are Natrum Self, Pulsatilla, Seniga and Lobelia. All are psychotic remedies. So this creeping type of pneumonia exclusively for bronchopneumonia. What is bronchopneumonia? We have 2 types of pneumonia. One is lobar pneumonia, other one is bronchopneumonia. In case of lobar pneumonia, the entire lobe is affected. Example, in right lung we have 3 lobes, upper, middle and lower. In case of lobar pneumonia, entire lower lobe will be affected or entire upper lobe will be affected. In case of bronchopneumonia, the pneumonia patches starts in one lobe and it started spreading to another lobe. The involvements will be here and there. It is a patchy pneumonia. So these creeping type remedies are most suitable for bronchopneumonia. The group 5 remedies are antitat, carbovage, arsenic, lycopodium, sulfur and kali-carb. We can notice that most of them are polycrest. They are constitutional prescription. The late pneumonia, it is pneumonia that doesn't resolve properly. Because usually in pneumonia, resolution takes place on its own. There are few constitution where resolution doesn't take place on its own. In such conditions, they require remedies, and most are polycrest remedies. These remedies can be prescribed in the convalescent period also, where patients are developing symptoms post-pneumonia, late sequel of pneumonia. In such conditions also, we can prescribe these remedies. And hepatization changes. Gray hepatization, because resolution is the next step for gray hepatization. So patient remains in the hepatization stage itself, resolution doesn't take place or the resolution is not complete, and there are additional symptoms at the end of pneumonia. In all these circumstances, we can prescribe the group 5 remedies. And the third part of the book is repertory part. It has 21 chapters. Generalities is the last chapter in general repertory. In this repertory, it starts with generals and end with sleep. So it also contains mind symptoms. We have a chapter on mentals. The lung complaints have been explained very well, and we have chapters like chest, cough, sputum, heart, pulse and temperature. The repertory does not contain a chapter on genitalia. Advantages of Borland's repertory. As it contains therapeutics part, we can easily match the remedies with the disease. And in the introduction part, he has explained very well about repetition of remedy, potency selection and dosage, everything. So we have an index in this book, so the remedies can be find out very easily. Normally in a regional repertory, the therapeutic part contains 50 to 100 remedies explained in detail, whereas in Borland's pneumonia, the remedies have been explained on the basis of various stages of pneumonia. So it is very useful for the practitioner to choose the remedy according to the stage of the disease. As we discussed earlier, the introduction part is very useful for the young practitioners. It gives proper guidelines to manage the acute diseases and infectious diseases. And there are some common disadvantages with all the regional repertories because they contain very scanty rubrics, or they cover only a part or organ of the body, and they contain very less number of drugs. Here also only 24 drugs have been used, and the repertory is usually limited to particular disease, and generals are not discussed elaborately. Even though we have chapters on mentals and generalities, it is not given elaborately. Borland was a renowned homeopath and he was a great teacher. His views on success is about getting more and more clinical experiences, because we should not neglect any signs and symptoms in a patient, and the more the experience and more successful we are going to be. Even though it's a very small book, every page of it is very useful. It is useful for preparing therapeutics. It is useful for repertorization in the bedside. It is also useful for handling acute cases in potency selection and repetition of remedy. Please make use of it. Thank you.